What's good, everybody? What's good? It's your boy, Cardinal Bud Crawford, or E.S. Red, if that's what you want to call me. And we are back for another one. Alright, y'all, new topic. Should the Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence Jr. fight be pushed back to 2023 to build more hype? Alright, y'all, so we're into August of 2022. Year's almost done. Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford still hasn't been signed. We still don't know if it's going to be signed. Definitely want it to be signed. A lot of fanfare, a lot of hype going on around this fight. But there are a lot of question marks around this fight as well. And those question marks stem from, can the investors make their money back off this fight? Is this really a super fight at the end of the day? Or is this just a really good fight that fans want to see? Is there 50, 60, 70, $100 million to be made off this fight? And I think that is the real hold up. I think it's not just Terence Crawford wanting more money, but I think it's the investors wanting to know if they can get their money back. So should the investors say, you know, we're going to pull the plug on 2022. We're going to try to revive this fight in 2023. We're going to allow Terence Crawford a little more time to perhaps go face off with somebody that can bring his pay-per-view numbers up a little bit, his fan engagement up a little bit. In the meanwhile, he can get a nice little check. And, you know, I think building up a little more hype around this fight, even though I think the hype is pretty good at this point, but it's mostly fan hype. Does that fan hype turn into pay-per-view buys is the real question. The thing about the Maypac fight that made it so special was from day one when they started talking about that fight, there was already, like, I feel like they already knew that there was a solid million pay-per-view buys interested in that fight. And it was because the times were different. You know, 5 years ago in boxing, pay-per-views was selling like crazy, like hotcakes. 10 years ago in boxing, pay-per-view was king. You know, and now we're in 2022, and streaming is basically killing pay-per-view, and it's really not. It's only killing it in boxing. It's because of how boxing treats its audience. Boxing is very hostile toward its audience. It's very distasteful towards its audience. It doesn't give the audience what it wants to see the majority of the time, so the audience has tuned it out. You know, we might still watch boxing, the fans might still actually watch the fights, but we're not actually paying for the fights. A lot of us are streaming the fights. A lot of us are watching it on free platforms. A lot of us are going to bars and clubs and watching the fights. Any way you can get it free in 2022, that's the way you're viewing these fights. So to me, I'm like, okay, if they can't get Terence Crawford to sign off on the dollar amount, they can't guarantee the pay-per-view buys, maybe the next best thing is just to hold off on this fight for a little while. Allow the fight to marinate a little bit more, build up a little more hype. Allow fans to really decide if their purchasing power is worth this fight. Allow the economy to reset, because it's been crazy for the past 2 years, you know, and this past year, the president in office he's killing us at the gas station. So a lot of people's spare change, a lot of people's disposable income is in their gas tank. So there's a lot of question marks going into this fight. The number one question mark is, can Terence Crawford win? I think, to me, is he even capable of winning this fight? Which I think, given his best fight, his most focused, I think he can win the fight. But I think Errol Spence is much more talented and built for 147 pounds. I think it's going to be a tough fight for Crawford. I think the second question is, are they going to make their money back? Because Crawford doesn't produce on pay-per-view, has no history of it. And I think the third question would be, is the dollar amount right for Terence Crawford in case he does lose? In case it is his cash out. I know when I say cash out, people don't really take that seriously because they don't feel like Terence Crawford's that close to leaving the sport. But what I mean by cash out is, if he loses, pretty much all bets are off for Terence Crawford, because he already doesn't sell pay-per-views that well. His fan base don't even buy his pay-per-views. He doesn't have too many other top-level, credible welterweights to get in the ring with. The young guns are capable of beating the crap out of him. So it's like, it's so many ifs going into the Errol Spence Jr. Terence Crawford Undisputed fight, that you gotta start to think like, okay, well, maybe this fight needs a little more hype. Maybe it needs to build a little bit more. Is it possible to even hype this fight up as big as a Maypac? What would they have to actually do to hype this fight up as big as a Maypac? Does he need to get in the ring with a Charlo? Does he need to perhaps fight a Keith Thurman or a Boots Ennis or a Virgil Ortiz first? Does he need to seek out a Manny Pacquiao fight? Perhaps maybe try to goat Floyd Mayweather into the ring. I mean, there has to be something that Terence Crawford can do to help sell this fight, because all the question marks, I know people don't want to hear this, but all the question marks are pointing at Terence Crawford. They're not pointing at Errol Spence Jr. He's done exactly what he's supposed to do his entire career. He said he was going to clean up his side of the street. He did it. He said when he got all the titles, he was going to call out Terence Crawford. He did it. He said he was going to get all the titles. He did it. Said he was the best welterweight out there at the moment. He is. So it's not, I mean, his pay-per-view numbers speak for themselves. His venue speaks for itself. There's nothing else Errol Spence can do to help sell this fight. It's on Terence Crawford now for him to build his numbers up and build his viewership up to the point where everybody involved in this fight, everybody investing money in this fight, not only is going to recruit, but is going to win big in the same way that everybody who invested in Maypac not only won big, but they over won. They got their money back tenfold. It wasn't just, well, we doubled our profit, or we doubled our investment, but we won tenfold. We got 10 times back what we put into it. And I think that's what it's going to take for this fight to actually come to fruition. I don't think this fight is actually going to come to the table unless everybody involved is completely and totally secure. And right now, the only one who seems like they're secure with the numbers surrounding this fight is Errol Spence Jr. Even though I think he's going to win, and I think it's completely fair for him to have the biggest piece of the pie, everybody has to win for this fight to go off. And I don't know how exactly we get there at the moment, but I'm just hoping we actually get there. Hit that like button for me, share, subscribe, tell a friend. Let me know what y'all think about that down in the comments section. Holler at me on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, but you're more than likely to get a response on the tube, so holler at me over there if you want a response. I'm done rambling for now. It's your boy, Cardinal Bud Crawford, or E.S. Red, if that's what you want to call me, and we are 9 in.
Nobody never robbed me in the shop.